revolution will not be televised, and be no rerun, brothers and sisters. The revolution will be live.
Which agency?
I can't say that here in an open hearing.
You saved me. Yes. Why?
Hey guys, coming up for Homeland, Season 6, Episode 2, The Man in the Basement. I was definitely interested in this episode, to say the least. As you guys know, I really did enjoy the premiere for this season. I thought that while there were some things that I thought were necessary, cough Quinn, other than that, I thought this was a very good return to form for the series. And this episode definitely, I think, was closer to what I really wanted the show to be. Not that episode 1 was bad, but it was more of introducing, what it's really going to be. I think this is closer to what the season as a whole is really going to be like. So let's just get in this episode because I do want to talk about it. And I'm not going to lie, I actually like the beginning because we start off, we see Quinn, he's sitting at home in the dark, he's listening to political rant on the radio, and Carrie and her daughter Frankie are upstairs in their apartment, and Carrie's little girl is curious about who's living in the house with them, and Carrie makes up this lie to prolong Quinn and her daughter from interacting, and Frankie's been picked up from school, and Carrie gets started trying to get Quinn's prescription straightened out, and she tries to get Quinn to take his medicine, but he refuses to open the door. He smashes the glass on the door, turns up the radio so that he can ignore Carrie, and she pleads with him to take his meds, and if he doesn't, he could go into convulsions. So Carrie calls Max for help, and she calls Max in for reinforcement. She has to get to work, and she tells Max to make sure that Quinn takes his medication while she's gone. So I do like that she has this care for Quinn. I like that we at least establish that she cares about him. But as we already established in episode 1, what she's doing is making him worse. So why is it good that Carrie is caring for Quinn? It just doesn't really make sense to me. But Carrie then meets up with Rita. They pay their new client a visit at the jail. Sekou is in deep trouble than he realizes. And apparently when the FBI searched his house, they found $5,000 in cash hidden under his bed. And they're claiming that Sekou was going to give the money to an Islamic State to fund terrorism. So now we're kind of realizing why they're thinking this. Because they feel he only had this money because he was so against, the United States. And there are a lot of things that Sekou said that made it very clear that he was against the United States. And again, I like this storyline. I like where this is going, where, Carrie is talking about how, look, this is just a kid. He's just trying to stand up for what he believes in. But Sekou insists the money was just a loan from his friend Masoud to help pay for his trip to Nigeria to see his father. Because as we know, his parents are divorced. He hasn't seen his father in a while. So we don't know if he's actually telling the truth. I'm willing to bet that he is. He seems very sincere, and they get to work trying to track down Saad so they can verify Sekou's story, but Saad seems to have disappeared. They don't know where he's gone, and Sekou's little sister was secretly dating Saad behind Sekou's back. So now we know why Sekou was kind of against his sister dressing as slutty as she was, but she promises to try and help Carrie find him, and I like the direction this goes, that they're trying to find Sekou in any way they're going to try to find Saad in any way they can to try to prove Sekou's innocence, even if it's not possible to do. I like the direction the storyline is going. I'm interested in seeing, really, So back in her office, Carrie actually gets a surprise visit from Saul, and I wasn't expecting to see Carrie and Saul's story coincide this early on, but I like it. And why? Because Season 5 we saw that keeping them apart was actually making the show worse. We need to keep these two together. Carrie and Saul has always been like the central relationship of the show. These two have always had such a great, father-daughter like bond, and I like that even though Carrie's not working with Saul, they're still on good terms for the most part, and they're not against each other. I like that they are being at least, cordial, and it doesn't turn out to be a friendly one. He's not happy with President-elect Keane, we find out, and her thoughts on military and CIA practice. Now, we already know this from episode 1, but Keane's ideas seem very similar to some of the ideas that Carrie was pushing. That Carrie, was kind of ignoring the military and things like that, and he accuses Carrie of secretly advising Keane, and that's why Keane is acting the way she is, which is understandable. I mean, it definitely seems like something that Carrie would want her to do. So Carrie's furious. She actually kicks him out of the office, and she doesn't understand why, he would think that she'd do that and betray him like that. So I actually like where this is going. I like the way that Saul thinks that Carrie would do this. You can tell that Carrie genuinely does care about Saul and wants to have some sort of a relationship with him, wants to actually be be nice to him, but he is accusing her of something that she obviously did not do. Now, Dar, again, I think Dar is really the one that's making him crazy, because we see Dar, he's meeting with Rob, he got intel that Iran is cheating on the nuclear deal, and the U.S. partners, the Israels, are going to pick up the Iranian nuclear scientists. So we know that definitely more is going on there, and again, this is something that Saul is being left in the dark about. So you know that definitely Dar has something that he's planning, and Carrie and Max get to work on a picture of Saad, and he learns something interesting. It turns out that Saad recently changed his name. He used to be in a gang in Pittsburgh that were busted for dealing drugs, and immediately that obviously, you know, ruined his reputation. So he ratted out his gang, and now he's a confidential informant for the FBI, and Sekou's case is getting very complicated very fast. So you can tell that definitely what seems to be a very simple case of just a kid who's standing up for what he believes in, there's a lot more parts to it than they think, and they then head before the judge to request access to Saad from the FBI. The FBI is actually hiding Saad, and Carrie argues that the FBI entrapped Sekou by having Saad give him the money, and the judge doesn't see things that way. You know, she just thinks this is an innocent kid who was framed for a crime that he did not commit, and that Saad is really the guilty one. But the judge doesn't see it that way. He thinks that due to national security, Saad, the informant, is off hands, and there's no way that Saad could be charged of anything because he is an FBI informant. So it kind of is a very unfortunate situation. So the prosecutor does make an offer for Sekou, though, that he could cop a plea for 7 years right now, which again, Sekou doesn't really want to do because he didn't do anything. He didn't really do anything wrong. He's just been accused of doing something that clearly he hasn't done, and it's already is very much affecting his reputation and pretty much everyone around him. So Quinn then wanders out of the house into the corner store, and Max follows him. While Quinn is wandering through the stone, he drops to the floor, begins having a seizure. Max then calls 911. The EMTs arrive, stabilize him, but Quinn refuses to get in the ambulance and go back to the hospital. Again, I don't know why Quinn's refusing help. Why doesn't he want help from the hospital? I know that obviously was messing with his mind, but they're going to get him better. Why not go to the hospital? He needs to go back. I don't know why Quinn is openly refusing this stuff. I know he's addicted to drugs and shit, but it just doesn't make any sense why he's doing this. It just seems like it's here to, again, give Quinn something to do and have him annoy characters. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like Peter Quinn to me. It doesn't seem like the kind of character that, you know, we're used to, but Carrie and Rita then head back to the prison to talk to Sekou. He's shocked when he learns his friend Saad was working for the FBI and was setting him up the entire time. You know, he had no idea that any of this was going on. So Rita shares a plea bargain with Sekou, and when he hears it's for 7 years, he freaks out. The guards drag him back to the cell. You know, he wants no part of the plea bargain, obviously. You know, he wants to get back to his family. He cares about his mother. He cares about his sister. He has a whole life ahead of him. He doesn't want to remain in jail all his life, and that's completely understandable. Again, to their knowledge, Sekou's just an innocent kid. He didn't do anything wrong, and Carrie then tells Rita that something has come up. She rushes out of the prison, and men in SUV then pick her up, take Carrie to a secret meeting with Rob and President Keane. So it turns out that Saul was actually right to be suspicious. Carrie is Keane's advisor, we find out. And Carrie and Rob fill Carrie in on Saul's proposal. Carrie says their only option is to send Saul is to oversee the Israel investigation, and he wants the Iran deal to work, and he is trustworthy. So I like this. I like that Carrie actually is working with President Keane. It makes more sense why President Keane is acting the way she is, and why she's so, vehement against Saul, you know, why she doesn't really want to talk to him and tell him what she's really doing. It's because Carrie's her advisor. He's not her advisor. He's just there to listen to her. She's the one that's overseeing everything, and I like the direction that this is going. That basically, you know, they need to send Saul over the Israel investigation, but there still is more going on with Dar than we think. I do definitely think there's more going on there that no one really knows about, but Carrie then teams up with Sekou's sister Simone. They meet up with Saad. Carrie confronts him and tells him she knows all about his deal with Conlon and the FBI. Saad confesses that Conlon made him give Sekou the money, and Saad told the FBI that Sekou wasn't a terrorist, but the FBI wouldn't back down, even though, you know, it wasn't true. And apparently Conlon promised Saad he would make sure he didn't do any prison time, and basically, Saad was, you know, innocent because of that, because of Conlon. Conlon made sure that Saad was kept out of prison, and you can tell he actually does feel somewhat guilty for it, and I like that Saad does definitely have that guilt in him. You can tell he knows that this was wrong what he did, that he probably should not have done this, you know, to Sekou. He actually genuinely cared about him, and I like that. I like that he actually did care about Sekou, and that this wasn't just some guy who wanted to frame Sekou. He actually did care about him. So Carrie then heads home. Her daughter's in bed, but she checks in on her, tucks her in bed. Max tells Carrie that Quinn had a seizure at the store. She's livid that no one called her and told her, but Max tells Carrie to just drop it. They have a bigger problem. Quinn is not getting any better, and he's not at all happy. So after Max leaves, Carrie then heads downstairs to talk to Quinn. He has to see the video of himself that was posted online when he was being held captive, and Carrie's surprised that he never actually saw it. So she reluctantly agrees to play it for him. She explains how she found him from the clues in the video, and he flatlined the ambulance. Now Max wants to know why Carrie saved him, and she gets choked up, begins sobbing. She excuses herself, heads upstairs, leaving Quinn alone in the dark basement, and we don't really know why she's crying or what that's really about, but that is the way this episode ends. Let's just get into this episode and talk about where I think we're going to go from here. So overall, I know there wasn't really a lot to talk about in this one, because truthfully, yeah, there was more going on in this episode, but this was a very dialogue-driven type episode, and I really did like where this episode is going, though. First of all, let's talk about Sekou, because is Sekou really as innocent as he seems? You know, I'm willing to bet that he is, but Sekou could be a really good actor. Now, we don't know all there is to know about Sekou. All we know is that he is someone who is doing what he can to try to get Sekou to, to basically, he's doing what he can to try to give awareness to the people of to his people and show how they've been treated and things like that, and how every single one of them are terrorists and being unfairly profiled and things like that. And yeah, you can understand that, but is there more to him than we think? We know that obviously Saad was involved in a lot of heavy drug trade, so could Sekou also have been involved in it, or is he just not telling the truth? That's something I'm definitely interested in getting into, and I'm really liking where we're going with Sekou's character. The actor who plays him is really, really great. I really like the actor who plays Sekou. He really is doing a great job, but I don't really know where that whole half of the story is going to go. We'll have to see as the show goes on. I also love that Carrie's working with Keane. I think it makes perfect sense that she's working with her. This seems like someone that Carrie would definitely collaborate with. And I like the way they're kind of plotting against Saul to go to Israel. But I don't really know what Carrie's really getting at here. What is she really trying to do? And why is she doing what she's doing with Keane? What's actually going on there? Again, we don't really know. And then Dar as well. We don't know what's going on with Dar. We don't know what this whole Israel thing is all about. What connection Dar has to Israel, if he's for or against them, about Iran and things like that, and who is the Iranian nuclear scientist that they're going to pick up. We don't know anything about that. We saw like one scene of it, and I'm interested in seeing really where that's going to go, because I think that whole thing is definitely very interesting. And also, there was a scene in the episode where Saul mentioned to Carrie someone named Ada Doreen, and we don't know exactly who she is, but says that she's a friend of Ada Doreen, so I don't know if we're going to meet her or something like that, but I think that definitely is going to be interesting as well. But then, of course, there's the Quinn of it all, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm still not interested. I'm not interested in what's going on with Quinn. There's nothing in this episode that makes me think, oh yeah, that's really interesting. All it seems like they're doing is just Quinn doesn't want to take his meds, he has a seizure, he freaks out, he's fine by the end of the episode, he's now living in Carrie's basement, these two for some reason are interacting, Carrie feels guilty for, what she did because it was kind of her fault in the first place. They're not doing anything else with him other than just creating more drama. And it just seems like that's the only reason he's on the show. And it's not doing anything. You already have this great plot with Carrie and Saul, with her kind of infiltrating him and him not knowing what she's really doing and him plotting against her back. And, her plotting against his back and him accusing her of what she's doing. I mean, that already is interesting enough. You got this really interesting story with Sekou. We don't need Quinn. I don't know why he's here. There's no reason why Quinn should be on the show. It seems like he's only here because they just didn't want to get rid of Rupert Friend because he's a great actor. Rupert Friend, he's a great guy. I mean, really, he's a great actor. He plays the character really well, but this is not Peter Quinn. This does not feel like him at all. He's very stubborn. He's not doing anything that Carrie says. He's not being a badass. I mean, him getting hurt every 5 seconds is not the version of the show that I want to watch. It just isn't that interesting. It's not compelling, and it really is kind of downgrading the show a lot. Now, luckily, this episode didn't focus a ton on that. It focused a lot on Sekou, what was going on with him and Saad. I found that storyline to be very compelling, so I definitely did like this episode a lot more than the first one, simply because of the lack of Quinn. If the show dials down the lack of Quinn, and, it dials down its, focus of Quinn, and focuses more on Sekou and Keane, then then I'm really going to like this season. But if this is going to be the Carrie and Quinn show, then I'm really not going to like this at all, because I don't really see a point in Quinn being on the show. There's nothing they've shown me that says Quinn still needs to be here. It just kind of seems like he's here. He wasn't supposed to be, but they brought him back, and now they have the storyline they don't really know what to do with, and it definitely seems like they are struggling. However, I definitely did really love this episode overall. I thought overall this was a very well done, intense episode that very well set up what's going to be a very compelling season that definitely has me on board for the rest of the season, and I am going to give Homeland Season 6, Episode 2, The Man in the Basement, a 4 out of 5 or a B+. So over, guys, remember this episode of Homeland. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Loved your thoughts on it. Do you like where the show's going? Do you still see a purpose for Quinn to be on the show? I don't know why he's really here. Do you like where they're going with Carrie and Saul? What about Sekou? That's for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next one, which will be for tonight's episode of Homeland, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.